Well, welcome to another episode of What's Broke Today. That, of course, I say you never know what you'll see. Today we have a hook truck that used for loading and offloading those portable dumpsters. You know, when you're having your house rebuilt and they bring a dumpster out. Well, this one hauls the smaller dumpsters, and he can just basically, take the hook and that goes on the front of the dumpster, and then, swings down and locks the dumpster in. They can lift this up and then raise the bed up, slide the dumpster off. But the problem we've got today is, and I'm not fixing everything, I'm just taking the hydraulic cylinders off, but as you can see here on the front cylinder, it's leaking out of the packing at the front, and hard to see, but if you look close you can see where the packing's actually coming out. And then the same thing with the ram that raises and lowers the rest of the bed, right down there on the bottom. You see the little tan looking piece. There's a big chunk of that packing that's coming out. So I'm going to remove both of the cylinders and get them ready, and he's going to take them down. There's a place here locally that will rebuild them and get all new seals and the packings redone, and then he's going to bring them back and I'm going to put them on. But I'm not sure I'm going to videotape very much of this, because you can see, the size of my finger. Those pins are probably 1.5 inches in diameter with huge circlips, and and the other ram there, it's not too bad. It's probably a 1-inch shaft at the top and bottom. So, and I can probably handle the small one fairly easily, but that bottom one I'm probably going to have to go get my engine hoist to pick it up, because it's got to be 4.5 feet long and a good maybe 4.5–5 inches in diameter, and I mean quite a chunk of steel that you've never picked up a hydraulic cylinder. They can be deceptive on their size versus their weight. So, but I'm gonna get this pulled apart and get started on it, and I'll get back with you in a few. Well, Jerry is back, and my upper cylinder, which I already got off, it came off fairly easy. Even though there's rust on the pin in the bottom, I just used a big punch and a hammer and was able to drive it out. And then I got partway through, I got a piece of old gas pipe and finished the job. Now these bottom pins they're big. I mean, they're probably, I'm gonna say, the 1.5 inches, and of course, hard to really deal with. So what I've done is I got my porta power out, and I'm just got it in between the frame and on the pin, and then I can just jack the porta power up and boom, push the pin out, and works. I mean, super slick. That end's not too bad. Now on the other end, this pin, I think it's a longer pin and it's a lot more rusty. So I got this jig I'd made once before that's a piece of 2-inch square tubing. It's 1/4 inch thick by 2 inches wide, flat bar, and then I've drilled put big holes in the other end, and I use it's a bit for a rotary hammer tool across the bottom. And basically I slide that over, put the pin through, and then I can get my little bottle jack in there, because the porta power won't quite fit yet. And this is one of those things, need to be careful, because there's, even though it's only a 2-ton bottle jack, there's a lot of pressure there. And I just get everything lined up and try and get, I can't get the back end straight. So I just get a little bit off, and then get off center on the pin a little. And I just take my bottle jack and just start working it, and I can slowly push that pin out, and then I give it a squirt of my rust penetrant every once in a while. Every place I could hit part of the pin. And I'll use the bottle jack until I run out of ram travel. Then I'll actually move back to my porta power, because I got all kinds of extensions. I got the whole kit. It's a This is a 4-ton setup, so it works really good. Yeah, once I get the porta power up here, this will go quick, you know. And then but before I push them all the way out, I'm actually going to go get my engine crane and put straps around both ends so I can support it, because I doubt when I get those pins out I'm going to be able to pick that thing up. So, but I just thought that's my little trick to getting stuff like this done, because this bracket I got here, actually, if I remember when I edit this video, I actually used this on his dump trailer, or, well, it's not a dump, it's a trailer he hauls the dumpsters on, that he pulls behind the truck, that the frame of it got bent, and I used that with a 20-ton bottle jack to try and get that. I didn't get it perfectly straight, but I got it a lot closer than it was, and that way everything laid down. When you put a dumpster on it, it's flat, and everything locked in like it should, so you could transport it safely down the road. So, alright, well, I'm going to get back after it, and I'll be back shortly. Alright, we're back with our hook truck that had an SD card failure in my camera, so I lost the footage, so I'm doing some retaping. But I'll put this large cylinder back in. I guess you could, before I put the large cylinder back in, like where these bores were, where the cylinder went through with those huge 1.5-inch pins here, were rusty. On the rear, I took a 3-stone hone and put in my drill and just, you know, stuck it in the bore, and actually used brake clean and just ran it in my drill and back and forth and washed it out as I honed and got it where it was, most of the rust was gone. And I took the big pin and a couple real rough spots I filed, you know, to get the where it was crusty rusty, which I do on this big pin back here, and then the small pin that went through the front cylinder had some crusty rusty, and then the rest of it I just lightly sanded with a like an 80 grip belt on a 1-inch wide, you know, belt. It's 1x42, you know, belt sander. So it wasn't too aggressive, but it got all the rest of the surface rust off, because these pins actually look like they were chromed, because we don't actually have any grease fittings, and there's nylon bushings in the ends on both cylinders that pin rotates on, so you don't even have to grease it. And then, like this, for the small pin in the back, I put a wire wheel on my drill and stuck it in there and just ran it through a few times and then washed it out. And I just got to the point where I could take that pin and it'd slide in and out without any problem. And then, like here at the top, I didn't have to do anything. It slid in and out there just fine. But yeah, when I had the pins going in and out of the frame good, and which, you know, back here, this is on the front end of that, where that cylinder hooks is mounted to the chassis, I just use hand sandpaper, because that's, I don't know, 1 inch wide, and it's just easier to reach in there with a little sandpaper and sand it than it was to worry about trying to get that hone in there. And of course the nylon bushings on the cylinders couldn't do much with that. And then to push, I use my engine crane. Of course I had this raised up some, and then I took my strap and ran around the end, and after I unhooked the 2 lines, in between the lines, then went around the cylinder and hooked it together up here, so that it had a hook, so it had, you know, it supported the end, and I looped it around this end so it would support it. And then, of course, since the back end was higher, I raised it up, lifted it up, slid it down in, and worked it around the hoses. And so this, I end up doing the back end here where the lines hook up first. and it really wasn't too bad. I got it close and then just took a socket on a extension, you know, stuck in through the hole down where the pin goes, use that to maneuver it around and then get the pin started. And then I used an old jack out of a car, you know, with the crank handle, you know, and use that to push the pin in. Then I started using this on the pin and then the back end on the side of the chassis of the truck, and then when I got up where these little fingers were hitting, I just flipped it around and put that end on the pin and got it pushed in, and then come around, and it takes a honking set of snap ring pliers to put these great big snap rings on. But I mean, they're a load, but yeah, I got them on, and then I actually took pictures so I get all the right spacer washers in the right spot. And then when I took the lines off, like for the small cylinder, it's no-brainer. You know, the hose coming out of the left side goes to the left and the right side goes to the right. But for the tilt cylinder, I just followed them back and just took a paint pen and wrote on here for left side of tilt, right side of tilt, so I got them in the correct spot. And so yeah, but once I got that back pin in, then it's real easy to twist that and get it lined up, and then just get the pin started through there. And then, so I wasn't beating on the pin, I used my piece of 4x4 and stuck it on the pin and hit it with a small sledgehammer and drove it through, and it slid through super easy. And then of course I changed out the hydraulic filter and flushed out, drained all the fluid because it was actually milky and had water in it. So once I got the filter off and the tank drained, I poured new oil in the tank and then turned it on, and just, yeah, it's got an electric switch on the dash, so I just flipped it on, let it purge out through where the filter screws on, and then put the filter on, and then turned it on and operated the levers inside, and just purged till I got clean fluid out of the hoses, and then reattached them and got them put back on. And then of course the cylinders didn't have any oil in them, so I just filled the tank up, run it, just cycled it a few times, because like when you're offloading the dumpster, this front piece, you know, when you're going to offload the dumpster, you actually tilt it up all the way, and then when you hit the other cylinder, the big one, it takes this whole arm, flips it clear over the back, and that hook ends up back out here where the dumpster is and sets it right on the ground. Just reverse that and run the main tilt back up and over and down, and then put this front one back in the down position, and you're loaded. And then the dumpster locks on the back, and there's tabs back here that this dumpster slides up in here and locks down. And then when you get out to the landfill, get ready to dump, you leave, you know, this front piece right where it's at, and just do the tilt, and you lift, just both of these come up at the same time, and you open the doors on your dumpster, and then it'll let everything slide out. But yeah, just a few cycles back and forth with that, and got all the air out, and everything was working like a champ. Well, I appreciate you watching this episode of What's Broke Today. This was, of course, our hook truck with our Stellar Shuttle dumpster offloading mechanism that got the rebuilt cylinders installed, and everything is bled out and functioning, and no more leaks with the cylinders, and operating like it should. That I appreciate you watching the video. If you found this helpful, give me the thumbs up for a like, and please stay tuned, because no telling what the next video might be on. And actually I might even, since I lost some of the video on this one, I might actually, I think I got another one coming over that's on a Chevrolet 3500 HD chassis that I got to pull the cylinders off of it. He's going to take and get those rebuilt, but I'll go ahead and film that one, and hopefully I bought the correct memory card this time, so we should be in good shape so I won't lose any footage. So thanks for watching, and please subscribe and like my video. Have a good day.